When I was 5, one day I left home, for no reason. After long hours of distress in my family, a policeman finally found me a few blocks from home, alone, staring at the jewelry. Back in our apartment, my parents asked me why did I leave. I don't know, I answered, and I really didn't know. I've never been able to understand my tendency to escape and get lost. I guess it's because I always expect something extraordinary to appear along my way, as did the first Europeans who explored new territories in North America. Francisco Vázquez de Coronado was the first of them, and with the idea of finding cities of gold, he led one of the most outlandish expeditions in human history. That was in 1540, and after 2 years of wandering around clashing with the Native Americans, he ended up lost somewhere in Kansas. He became the first American loser, and his expedition was considered such a disaster that no one else was sent up there for almost 50 years. As soon as I learned about this journey, the kid that once left home for no reason came back begging me to escape from wherever I was and surprised myself exploring the Southwest with an outdated guide to El Dorado.
Bisbee's an old mining town built around the copper mines.
Ironically, where Coronado couldn't find any gold, centuries later the United States expanded their territory looking for precious metals. Although he didn't find them, his route seemed to be filled with buried treasures.
When he came up from Mexico, he went straight up along the San Pedro River, and he walked right past the old mountain of silver here that Ed Shefflin found later. And they took $42 million out of silver out of the mountains. Now, if you multiply that times 30, that's what it's worth today. So he walked right over El Dorado. If you don't like Western history, and if you don't like tombstone history, you don't belong here. See, I live in the past. And anybody that's really happy in Tombstone lives in the past.
What are you doing? Where's Holiday? I want to kill him. Holiday! Get out of here. Come on, let's go. Oh my God. Pull away! See what I wanted. All right, come here. You're fighting for get away. Billy, get up! You're going crazy if you do.
That 30-second gunfight between the outlaws and the authorities brought fame to the town for the rest of its history, but also a very unrealistic feeling of enchantment.
We're sitting in Big Nose Cape, which originally in 1881 was the Grand Hotel that Wyatt Earp stayed with his brothers. Downstairs is the entrance to the mine, where the swamper used to clean up every night, and also decided to dig silver. After 2 years, the miners found out, put him in the hole, and blew him up.
In Tombstone, many people like to dress up as in the Old West. But there is only one man who is always in character, Doc Holliday. I thought that, in a certain way, I was also in character, representing Coronado as if his ghost was determined to find El Dorado once again.
Welcome to the back room of the Oriental Saloon. Right now you're under the balcony at the back of the Oriental. And this is the real place where Doc Holliday and Wyatt Earp really ran faro games in Tombstone, Arizona. First thing you got to remember about faro is it's illegal. It's illegal in all 50 states in the United States because this game is fair.
Every entity that's come to Tombstone to prove or disprove the presence of ghosts, every single one that's come has proven that there are.
Oh, yeah.
No one, there's no way to disprove it because there's such a strong
Unless
presence.
you're a non-believer.
Well, even non-believers, just scientifically,
I don't actually believe that I am Doc Holliday. As far as I know, I'm not reincarnated. I'm an actor playing a role. All the nutcases who think they're reincarnated as Western characters all moved to Tombstone the day they retired.
In just a few miles, I went from burning in the sun to freezing in the cold, and I kept on thinking how hard it might have been to walk through all those unknown places. The huge distances, the colossal mountains, and the massive landscapes must have provoked Coronado all sorts of uncanny feelings as he went through this terra incognita. But I also imagined that many times he must have felt overwhelmed by the majesticity of nature.
Excuse me, miss. The Coronado Trail?
This road right back here, but it's going to be closed off today because of the snow. No plowing.
Oh shit.
Number one, go after what your heart desires. But you have to be very patient, because there's going to be a lot of things in the way as you're trying to achieve it. Life is like that. But you be patient and you continue your goals of achieving what you want, and you will receive it. It may be not as quick as you wanted it, but it will come if you don't quit.
Besides by the snow, my whole journey was at the mercy of the elements. Then I understood that to go through so much hardship, those people must have had something else than just curiosity and greed. They had indestructible faith, and their mission was to spread the word of Jesus among the Native American people.
We see nature, we see the sky cloudy, we think it's going to snow. All that we believe because we see it. Faith is believing the things we don't see, the things we don't understand. You're not comfortable. You keep fidgeting, you're nervous. And that is a calling. The Lord wants you to go to Him, but you don't want to. Patience will come with it if you have faith. The Lord will give you that patience. He'll say, trust me, trust me, trust me, and I will answer you. It's about 12:55. In the Lord's time, there's no such thing as 12:55. His time is eternal. So we don't put Him up against a wall and say, okay, Lord, it's time. When are you going to answer me? It doesn't work that way.
After hundreds of miles, I was about to commemorate the most remarkable episode of Coronado's journey, the moment he thought he had finally found El Dorado. In Zuni Pueblo, I would meet the descendants of the first people who fought against him 500 years ago. Since I left, I had been looking forward to start a parallel journey that would bring me through the Native American traditions and spirituality. I couldn't wait to get a glimpse of the Zuni's ancient wisdom, although I knew that they had some issues with sharing their culture.
Excuse me. What am I waiting now? Is it like?
We're waiting for.
We just don't have the time at all. I mean, we're finishing up a meeting and we're going into another meeting right now. So you probably have to get with the tourism center and see if they'll be the ones to allow you to film them telling you that.
So what's the thing is like. I cannot get like an official answer.
And if you can't turn a camera on in here, you have to go to the tourism center and talk to them and see if they'll they have a person that you can video.
But they send me here.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, well, we just don't have the time to do that now.
I guess first of all, who are you and where are you from and what is all of this? Within the Pueblos and many societies, there's a difference in the whole concept of truth, of knowledge. In our Western sense, which is based on the Socratic method, right? Socrates? Question, answer, question, answer. If you're smart enough to ask the question, then you have the right to get an answer. There is another way of seeing the world, and that is your relationship to the answer. Who are you? Are you ready for this knowledge? What is your relationship to the knowledge? And that is more likely what you would find in a society, a Native American society. Knowledge it's a privilege, and you have to earn the privilege, not a right. Spirit is infinite and ephemeral, and it's nothing that you can capture. So to capture it is taking something from that. And we're in the presence of Spirit, and we can't intrude ourselves by capturing that in a finite form. The leader would take his pouch of cornmeal and lay a line in the sand to mark the sacred space that they inhabit and the space outside. The Spanish crossed the line at some point, again, not knowing or not caring. They had the bigger arms. So that was a very serious cultural affront. But they were really looking for the next El Dorado. When you have this dominant force that is preceded by religion, and the whole concept of the Catholic religion in particular is the only religion. Evidently it was a rebellion in the Pueblo of Acoma, and to quell that and make an example, they had at least 100 of the male warriors had their right foot, I believe, amputated. Okay. That has continued a legacy today that has created this sense of suspicion of the outside. And so many of these other Pueblos are less receptive to individuals like yourself coming in and just wanting to film, in particular, the cultural practices. I believe Acoma does not allow videotaping at all. So I'd recommend you filming elsewhere and maybe refocusing your approach.
Given the circumstances, I was completely screwed. At that point, I had to decide whether I kept on following Coronado or not. So I went to look for an answer in front of the Black Rock, one of Zuni's most sacred places. I thought that I shouldn't make the same mistake as Coronado again, so I decided to set my own limits and retrace the line of cornmeal that the Zunis drew in front of the Spaniards, and then not to cross it. I started to understand that my project couldn't go on as planned, and I couldn't help thinking about the similarities between Coronado and me, and how he was also rejected by the Zunis, but just subdued them and kept on going. I then realized that I actually never felt much sympathy for that man, so I decided that my last contact with him would be at the Painted Desert, which he himself named that way. After that, I had no reference. Having lost my tour guide, Coronado's ghost turned into a new version of myself that would always be running somewhere ahead of me. It was my birthday, 28, and I was still looking for the Indian wisdom that had been denied to me. On my birthday, I always have existential doubts, and every year I think about St. Paul, my saint, and how one day he fell from his horse and had a revelation. Alone in the middle of nowhere, I also needed to have some sort of revelation, as if it had to be my birthday present. Standing in front of that desert, I felt dwarfed by the immensity of the landscape. The sublime allows us to get a glimpse of spirituality, since it awakens the intuition that, as the Zunis still believe, there is something beyond reality that is constantly manifesting. All things are full of gods, said Thales, the first philosopher in Western history. The Zunis had prepared me to better understand the origins of my own tradition, and maybe that was all I had to learn from them.
We don't have much battery. We can run out of battery at any moment.
Okay.
This is a very improvised interview because I was in the painted desert. I got sunburned. Today is my birthday. I was like kind of completely lost because every time I go 1 year more, I kind of feel that my life is going nowhere. I just came here to have lunch, and then I started to see things about the Route 66 and what was going on. And then I just met you. You own this place, and you told me about the Route 66. It seems that maybe, I don't know.
Sure. The Route 66 is also called the Mother Road. And it's called the Mother Road because a lot of individuals find themselves or find their way on the Mother Road to becoming who they are. Just like most individuals, their mother guides them along in life, guides them to do the right things. The Mother Road, a lot of individuals take the Mother Road to be guided and have the Mother Road give them direction to where they want to go.
I just improvise along the way and see what happens.
And just see what happens. There's a lot to see, a lot to do, and you will enjoy yourself.
Hello.
How are you? Mr. Mustard.
Good. You go for a ride?
Let's go. Passed away, we continue his legacy.
When you come to a little town like Seligman on Route 66, it is like you are going back in time. It is like you are going back into the 40s, living in a big city and just driving on I-40, you lose identity. Is just a highway to take you from point A to point B. And so many people are so happy to get off of that freeway and slow down and smell the roses. We were bypassed September 22nd, 1978. At about 2:30 in the afternoon, traffic stopped. The world forgot about us. But by the early 1980s, both men and women in their 50s, 60s, 70s, when I was still cutting hair every day, a few started coming in here and they were saying, this has got to be the highway that my parents drove from the Midwestern states to go to California for a better way of life. They were looking for America of yesterday. Live one day at a time. Life is simple, don't complicate it. I have learned to live the moment, not 30 minutes from now even, not an hour from now. I have learned to live this precious moment. I have also learned to eat to live, not live to eat. My brain is in charge of my body. My body is not in charge of my brain. My body doesn't know that I'm an 84-year-old man. I have learned I have to love my children and my wife more than I love myself, or otherwise it won't work. You can fool some of the people some of the times, but you can't fool all the people all the times. Life is simple, don't complicate it. Life is simple. I mean, it is so simple, it's pathetic. It seems that every now and again we have to go hungry to appreciate a good meal. I'm just here to share. So I just want to help. Because after we're dead and gone, what were we here on earth for? Learn to understand yourself before you can understand anyone else. Listen to yourself. You ask 40,000 Frenchmen for their interpretation, and you get 40,000 different answers. How about asking yourself? Don't force the bricks. You'll break them. Let the bricks fall in place. If you try to force them, you'll break the bricks. That's the way life is. You try to force things. You can't force things. You'll break it.
Thank you.
Don't look back.
I have learned a lot in life, but it all relates to myself. You want specifics? I can't give you specifics. Only you can do that. Live life. And be true to yourself. There's no general aspect to life. You either live it or you don't.
Life is what you make it. It's the experiences that you have. You shouldn't be influenced by things. You should create your own experiences. I think I've learned that just because you wander doesn't mean you're lost. It's freedom.
So you don't know what you want to do after you're done studying. So you don't know what you want to do in life.
I want to do everything.
And maybe someday you can put it all together and become jack of all trades, master of none.
What else? We have to make this more conversational.
Okay, what's this here on your wrist here?
The tattoo.
Tattoo?
Tattoo, yeah, tattoo.
Right, and what is that, just a circle?
When I was 19, I was very lost, and I realized that I needed to have some sort of reference for life, to keep on going. So I did this in order to remind myself that I would always have that need of having a faith, but I would never find it. So it's a circle that it's at the same time is a shape. So it's like the shape that gives meaning to reality, but it's a circle because it will never find.
And for you, what have you learned in your little time?
I've learned that there's some sort of infinite source in my brain that never stops asking me to do more. So I can't learn anything.
You can't learn anything?
Know everything and know all the perspectives from different people.
Right.
It's just like some sort of strange curiosity, but I'm not going to learn that. I'm just going to get tired and say, okay, that's been enough. I've been doing this trip looking for some sort of overarching form or shape or faith, or looking for some sort of El Dorado, but my inner El Dorado. And I've come to realize that there's no way that I can find it. I'm always going to be trying to find it and looking for it, but not finding it actually. What is faith?
Okay, a good definition of faith is believing in something you do not see, but yet you know it's there.
Isn't it like some sort of oxymoron that you believe, but at the same time you don't really understand?
That's the truth too, because you know, if it seems absolutely impossible, there's a word for that, paradox. And anytime you come close to a paradox, you're so close to God you can reach out and grab him.
The problem with religion is they want to be chief over the others, say we're the only right ones. But Jesus is God is the only right. He came in the form of man, and he told the truth. Now we can accept or reject, that's all it is. No need to fight over it. If you don't want it, then go your way.
So then, if I'm open to this, but I don't find the faith or whatever, what can I do?
It'll come. You just need to work with it, and you'll find it.
The donkeys are here because during the war, the government closed the mines down. They didn't feel they were necessary to the war efforts and the World War II, and they turned them loose in the desert so that they didn't have to worry about feeding them or taking care of them. So they just basically abandoned them.
I saw these donkeys and I was like, this is some sort of my Dorado, because I'm very much like them. I'm very stubborn. I want to find something. I'm always looking for some sort of enlightenment, of truth, some sort of Dorado. So then I came here and I was like, I'm the donkey.
There they are.
I'm this stubborn animal that just can't stop.
What do I think about life? What have I learned in life? Oh, golly.
As if I was a donkey with a carrot in front of my nose, I had been pushing forward throughout Arizona with the blind hope of catching what I already knew I could never reach. At that point, I thought that maybe I should just take a break from my search for an absolute and try to empty myself in order to allow some sort of faith to grow within. I set out on this journey as a kid wanting to discover America through an unconventional route, and ended up doing the most typical of them all, being witness of the Indian obscurantism and the American exhibitionism, and finally learning that I can't learn anything, that as soon as I understand something, I dismiss it, and that if El Dorado really exists, it will always be anywhere but here.